Welcome to this yet to be titled podcast where business meets humanity and wisdom meets opportunity. Join us, MelP and TF, as we dive into business challenges with a human point of view, add in our life experiences, and explore opportunities for growth. Oh no, countdown on this one. It just starts.
It just starts. We gotta go.
It just starts.
Gotta go.
It's good that we have trimming capabilities on this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, hi Tom, welcome
Hello.
to another episode of the podcast with no name yet. What did you say?
Right.
What did you say the name was? TM.
MT, like empty, but MT
M.
are both of our initials.
Oh, tell me more. Empty. Let's unpack that.
Well, so I think it's like, it's kind of like a little bit of irony. I like irony. So, I think we're gonna have like a lot of like deep conversations that are very impactful, the opposite of empty. But, our initials just happen to be that way. And it's a play in English on the word empty.
I kind of love it because when you say deep conversations, so
Mm-hmm.
you said empty, then deep conversations, which is the opposite of empty, and then my mind went straight to the notion of everything we are is empty, right?
That's true. Yes.
Also,
Yeah. We should be empty. The more empty we are, the more we can receive.
yeah, this is a Mexican thing, by the way. That I learned this
What's
in
that?
Mexico. This means yes. Um,
Oh,
you'll
okay.
see me do this a lot because this is a reflex now.
Got
Um,
it. I thought maybe you'd use the app and the Apple Vision Quest or something. Vision Pro, sorry, where like you're using your hands to like manipulate stuff.
ah,
Have you heard of that?
I have.
Yeah.
Yes. Have you tried it?
No, I haven't yet. But maybe that could be another episode on your thoughts on it and potential use cases in your line of work.
Yeah, of course, of course. So empty, empty. There's something there. Something there.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
it. Okay.
Okay.
So still the podcast with no name, but as of now, standing name empty.
Right.
But do we say it MT or do we say it empty?
Depends on, I mean, do we want to kind of take the viewers for like a ride where we kind of like make it sound like empty and then they see it spelled a different way? It's different ways we can go about it. MT or MD. Depends.
Okay. I like where this is going. Yeah. There's multi level. This is a multi level idea. Like
Yes.
it.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm a fan of lyricism, so in general. So when it comes to, it's a very common theme in hip hop. And so if you can get like a double meaning, triple meanings, even better. I don't know if I've ever gotten a four, like, quadruple meaning, but if we can do double meanings and triple meanings, I'm always game for that.
Let's do that. Let's make that part of the podcast. I love that.
All right,
Um,
cool.
but then would we say something about like empty or talking about empty? Like, is there a world where, okay, so you're saying empty has double meaning, but do we say
Hmm.
empty and empty in the same
That's a
sentence?
good one. Yeah. Oh, I think we have a lot of like we have there's a lot of potential there, so we can do both. And I think, yeah, empty, empty, and empty's empty thoughts. We can, yeah, we can. There's a lot to pick apart there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
We're about to
keep you
write a
guessing.
song. Yeah.
Exactly.
We're going to the
Empty
next
thoughts.
slam poetry.
Yes.
We should host one. It's a good idea. No, I love
Yeah.
that stuff. Um, so until we we find a name, empty it is. Um, I for today's episode, here's how I came up with this idea. I was
Okay.
watching. Have you seen that there's a new Netflix series called Griselda?
I have not, but I've heard of it. It's funny. I saw the link and I sent it to my friends, and everyone's like kind of hyped about it. So I have not watched it yet. I have, being a fan of just I don't know, the whole like drug trade, learning about it, and the whole, all the stories behind it. I have read about. I've gone down the Wikipedia rabbit hole of the person in question, and really interesting story. I can't wait to watch it. I think it's season one's out now, right? Is
Yeah,
that correct? And do we know how many seasons it's going to be?
no clue. I'm
Okay,
sure maybe someone knows. I do not.
yeah. Or is it just one? Is it just one? Did they complete everything in one season?
I have no idea. I'm not. What I'm like 3 episodes in, I think.
Oh, okay.
I just started watching it, but no,
Yeah.
I don't have much information about the show. Which if I'm going to talk about the show, I probably should, um, but I don't. But basically, she was. Now I have to try to phrase this in a way that's not going to tell you what happens.
Hmm. I mean, I kind of know what happens, but I read about it on Wikipedia, but I haven't watched it.
But
Yeah.
all the viewers too. So
Okay.
basically, so as you discussed, as you mentioned, she is trying to run. Uh, I guess that's in the 80s. I'm not even sure, but they look like they're in the 80s, 70s.
80s, 90s. Yeah. I think it's 80s.
Okay.
I think. But yeah, anyway.
Um, and she moves to Miami. This is not divulging too much information, I think. She moves to Miami from Colombia, and she's trying to build her cocaine ring or cocaine business. Um,
And
and
we just got demonetized.
we just got what?
Demonetized
Demonetized.
for
Oh,
for bringing
she's
up cocaine. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
okay. Yeah, yeah,
We'll bleep it out in the post
well,
edit.
yeah. Or she's trying to build her business of pleasure, of fun. Her festivity business is what she's trying to do. Uh, I'm trying to find other ways to say it.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm just joking. You can say it, and we'll just we'll bleep it out. It's
no,
all good.
it's fine.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. And she gets into a lot of challenges building that, and she has to make these wild decisions. Which now I realize I can't tell which decisions that is because some people might have not seen the show. But let's say that to continue her business, she had to do some shady stuff. We'll just leave it to that. Or she had to make
Hmm.
a decision to do some shady stuff or not, right? Which in that business is not, out of the usual, right? Well, not that I know, but what we know from watching all the Narcos shows, which
Right.
is clearly not the reality, but here we are. So I was like, so she's building a business and she has to make a decision, profit versus values. And I'm like, we've been well, I've been in businesses where we had to make a decision, profits versus values. And that's a very interesting topic to me because it's such a fine line and there's so many things involved. Um, and for you, you're the salesperson.
I am.
Welcome to the show. Where Let's start here. Where do you draw the line? So let's say you're selling for a product you believe in. Well, this is first situation.
Hmm.
And you might have a target customer, but you might not like what that target customer does in the world. But
Hmm.
they would pay you a lot of money for a contract.
Hmm.
What do you think about this? Do you want examples? I don't want to name names, uh,
Hmm.
but imagine you're selling to an organization that is just doing wrong in the world based off of your values and many
Hmm.
people's values. Um, it could be destroying the earth, or like I'm going to take it to the extreme, like, but I don't want to take it to the extreme. The extreme is like maltreating people, some wars, like but the thing is, people have different points of view on all these things, right? And it's very personal what the values are. um, so as a salesperson, what's
Hmm.
your position on that, or do you have
Man, that's yeah, that's it's a really one spicy topic. We like spicy, but it's also it's very nuanced. I think it's just not binary per se, and I think you brought up a good point towards the beginning. Like, first of all, I need to be working at a company that I believe in, right? So that means that we are selling a product that I think ultimately is helping people solve problems in an ethical way, in a good way. And so that is, there's, I guess, there's always, they always say it takes two to tango. So I want to make sure that at least I'm in agreement with at least the side that I'm starting off of as a salesperson, right? So I want to believe in the company. Personally, I just think it makes one a better salesperson if one actually believes in the product, and customers can see that it's like genuine. So with getting that out of the way, I'm selling a product that I believe in. Now the question is like, now I'm selling it to maybe a company that offers a product or service that I do not believe in. It's a tough one because I mean the right thing would be say, of course not, I wouldn't, right? But then they always say like you never I think it just depends on I guess your situation, you know what I mean? Because let's say, I don't know, hypothetically, I had like a family I had to feed. Say I have like, I don't know, 5 children or something, right? And I'm the sole provider. Then ethics are a little bit different, right? When like you're like, hey, it's either this or like, maybe like getting kicked out of the apartment, or like, not eating, going without food. Then your I guess the morality, or like, how what you can say no to is different than if, let's say, a multimillionaire, right? And it's like, okay, well, I can say like, I don't want to eat food from a certain place because it's not, whatever. Then I have like 50 food restrictions and stuff like that. Like, there's food restrictions doesn't really exist when you're, living like, meal to meal, where you don't know where your next meal is coming from. Then then it is binary. Then it's either like, I can't eat this physically, or I'm going to eat this. Doesn't matter how it tastes, or like, even if I get sick off of it, it's like, it's better than no food, right? So I think in this place that we're in now, especially, let's say, I live in the Bay Area in the US. And so it's a very privileged and a very fortunate and very well off part of the world. And so I think here we can make a stand more so because our basic needs are met. And so we can kind of go beyond that, right? So we can say, hey, you know what? I don't want to shop at a certain big box retailer that's all throughout the US because they don't pay their workers a certain way, right? Or they don't treat their workers a certain way, right? Whereas maybe someone in the Rust Belt in the US, maybe in a place that's been decimated by just international trade and stuff like that, maybe they don't have the same resources we do. Then they're just like, hey, this is the only employer in within 100 miles, and it's either that or food stamps. So I would say, I would like to say that, or it's almost like, like if there's like if there was a hurricane, right, or some sort of natural disaster, um, and there's like maybe a store that one could go get stuff from, but one doesn't have the money or there's no one there. Would you then, that's considered like looting, ransacking? Would you do that? In a perfect world where I'm working and I have access to other means, then no. But if that's the only way to survive to the next day, would I still have to stand on those same principles? I don't know. I'd have to say that like I'd be a hypocrite to say like I would die not wanting to break that rule, right? So I just think it depends a lot on one's circumstance. And so I'm not trying to evade your answer. It's just that I think there's just like there's so many layers to that. Where like in a like a sterile environment, if this is just like a hypothetical, like where it's just like nothing, it is not real, then yeah, I'd say okay, well, yeah, if it goes against what I believe in, then no, then I wouldn't sell to them, or I'd say, hey, like, I can't do it. But I just think that like every salesperson is like in a different place, also like in their life and also career, right? Some, let's say an up and coming salesperson, let's say, who just graduated from maybe being an SDR, and this is their first like AE position. So SDR is just like, yeah, usually in sales you start off basically generating pipeline for the sales reps. And so SDR is a sales development rep, which is they're going to like basically do a lot of the outbounding to reach out to prospects, set up the meetings. And then once you've kind of done that, you graduate to an account executive. And, for let's say an SDR who just became an AE, they may not feel as comfortable pushing back, because they know that this is their opportunity to actually make it up through the ranks and stuff like that. So, whereas let's say maybe like an AE, maybe a senior account exec or like an enterprise account exec who's done this for years is like, hey, I have like a big Rolodex of like contacts. I have people that I know in the industry. I can get a job tomorrow. So no, I don't want to sell this, and I'm not going to because it goes against my values. So yeah, I would say that I think I'm fortunate enough to be in this space in my career and life where I can make a stand, and I would say I'm not going to, but I also want to acknowledge the fact that it's based on my a privileged position that I come from, that I'm at now, versus me just being this like wonderful, perfect person. Which, like I said, if circumstance changed, then I, I'd probably feel more justified in selling, regardless if, like you said, if there was like a big um, payday, or like there's a big payday behind potentially signing them. So that's my long-winded answer.
No, I love it. And I think that's the kind of thought process that should go into any decision like that. And I also agree that it's case by case and it's multi layered. Um, as a company, so let's say you sold big contract to an organization that it is not well viewed in the media. Let's say we know they're doing some shady stuff or stuff that by a large number of people is not accepted, right? um, do you think the company should like you made the sale, so the company should they go and do this contract?
I think that should be something that should happen. That discussion should happen before they sign, right? Because then you kind of have like a binding agreement between the two
Yeah,
parties.
yeah, yeah.
But
Let's say before
I,
the signing happened.
before, yeah, I think so. I think it should be a discussion, and the salesperson should be okay with the direction the company wants to go. Hopefully, the company hasn't changed in their values, so hopefully, and just like usually a lot of companies will have some sort of like culture fit interview at some stage of the recruitment process. But yeah, even if before then, if it's something that one really feels strongly about, one should kind of have like a pulse on, like what does the company stand for. A lot of companies are very, very open with that these days. Like they'll have material online, and they'll just based on some, for example, some of their existing customers that they have, what they've been doing, what they do with the available resources. So in terms of like maybe just volunteer work and stuff like that, can probably give a good indication as to where their values are. So, but obviously, like one can't like go through every scenario. And so, if there was a situation that came up where it was like, okay, well, this is a company, they were maybe flying under the radar, but now like they have been recently busted for doing these things that I don't agree with. And you talk to the team. I mean, I would say that um, a company like let's say like it's a company with more than maybe more than 100 people or something. Not everyone's going to know everything about every company and every deal that's going on. So I think it's going to be the responsibility of the salesperson, like if there's an issue, to then proactively go and say, hey, by the way, we reached out to XYZ company. I'm aware that they've done these things. What's our stance on this? And then just get it's like a temp check. Just figure out like what does management think about it? Where do they stand? Are they willing to walk away potentially from this customer based on what they've heard and stuff like that? And also like just make sure that like it's not just it didn't come from some random Twitter account or this is credible information. They've maybe had to there's some court case or whatever. Like maybe just make sure that like it's just not hearsay and not rumor. But if it's legit and like it's been proven that they've done stuff that's like not ethical, then I'd say it's the salesperson's responsibility to then go to management and say, hey, this is what I found. What's your thought on this? See what they say. And if they say what they say aligns with what you think, then great, perfect. Both parties are in agreement. Then you can kind of go out and say, you can tell maybe like the SDR, or you can directly tell the prospect, yeah, we're not going to pursue, because the prospect has every right to not select you as well, which happens more often than not. They'll say, hey, we went with someone else. So, um, you know, and they're probably evaluating you as a company as well, for not only the values, not only like the product, your product, but also like your values as well, hopefully. So I think that's the way I would approach it. Yeah.
Have you been in a similar situation?
Thankfully I haven't. Um, but then again, I guess like if one were to dig deep enough, one could always probably find something that's like probably not, like what a company or a country has done that's not great in the past. So yeah, nothing egregious on my side. No, sold to a lot of companies, but yeah, nothing where I was just like, well, this is I can't, this is unacceptable.
Yeah. Because I
Yeah.
also it also made me think about large companies that we know, large tech companies that we know, and
Yeah.
for sure there's some shady deals that
Hmm.
happen there, right? I keep hearing some stuff that still blows my mind. Even though I'm not surprised, they still blow my mind of stuff that they're doing. I'm like, what? And
Hmm.
um, yeah, like what does that do? I'm hearing this from big tech companies and thinking about decisions like this they had to make to grow their profit, right? Their bottom line, which gets them to the next funding round, blah blah blah, like when they started. And I'm thinking about startups who are answering to a board, who need to fill in those numbers, and they get this contract in front of them and they're like, that's going to impress some people, right? um,
Hmm.
that's a hard decision, and I
For sure.
feel it's like, I don't know how many people, you were talking about the culture and what you can find on the website. Honestly, like the culture page on a website often is just pretty words, right? It's not always. There are some companies that live by them, and but I actually don't think it's the majority. I think it's a sales tool, a recruitment tool, So I don't know how many basically companies stand by that, value their principles and their principles and their values over profit.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
Um, and makes me a little sad about the world. But also, yeah, it's always a hard decision.
Yeah, I mean, I think you brought up a point there when you were saying like it's wanting to bring that big sale and to impress the board and stuff like that. And the question may not be the most popular, but do we have to impress the board? Do we have to grow at all costs? Do we have to go after this whole, you know, the VCs don't at me here, but do we always have to, is the VC model always the best way to, fund and grow a business? And so I don't know. I think if you prioritize that, then there's like so many downstream decisions and things that are made where it's just like, hey, we're at the end of the day, this is just like a capital. We're basically that is just a form of capital, right? And so, and the capital needs to be grown in a certain manner. It needs to be grown very quickly. There needs to be certain multiples that need to be made. The company needs to grow. Does the company also, when it comes to company culture, right? Like, then you start maybe hiring. You see this all the time with like smaller companies where like they're very intentional initially, like to keep the company culture. They're hiring, looking for a certain type of person with certain ethics and stuff like that. And then once you start getting into growth mode, and then it's like, hey, like we need to grow the team by X. And then, obviously there's just like the law, like when it starts getting larger, it gets harder and harder to find those same people. And then all of a sudden the company culture changes because different people are brought on who maybe don't share the same beliefs and stuff. And so I think some of it it just comes down to like what kind of direction do you want to how do you want to fund your company? And do you want to grow organically, or do you want to kind of grow with like kerosene? And once you grow with kerosene, that fire, it'll grow fast, but it can also grow out of control.
And it often does, right? I think we've, yeah, all seen it. I think that's an episode in itself, on its own. I have so much to say about the board. Like, I think it's great, right? That you have help, you have funding. That's like that concept is great when you think of when you take it as a pure, view. But also the restrictions that come with it are
Hmm.
just, yeah, are just wild. And I see that in this conversation that I brought up about these, the values versus the profit, in a world where you have a board and you're VC funded. Who's making that decision?
Right. Exactly.
Is it the leadership of the company,
Hmm.
or is it the board who's trying to, make their profit?
I think it's the board, right? I think the board, once, I think in any situation in life, when you have someone pay for you for something, then you kind of lose autonomy, lose your that control. And so that person who's paying usually gets to set the rules for the most part. I mean, or the buck stops with them, right? So you can still make your own decisions. It's just that like you're never going to be like totally free. And so a lot of times you're exchanging the discomfort of not knowing where that dollar is going to come from to be like, okay, cool, we're getting funding. We know, at least like we have this certain, we call it runway. So we have runway up until this time. So during this period, we don't have to worry about not making, payroll. So you're exchanging that comfort for essentially having a boss. And even if you're an entrepreneur, like your boss becomes the board, and you have to answer to the board. And if you don't answer to the board, they can oust you, or they can stop. They can maybe not participate in the next round, for example. So you kind of lose your autonomy there in exchange for security. What's the phrase about those who give up freedom? I'm probably butchering it, but there's a phrase about like those who trade security for something. I don't know, for freedom. get nothing.
I have
Probably,
no idea.
yeah. We might have to cut this out, but probably butchering the phrase.
No. The viewers will know. They'll write in the
Yeah,
comments
they'll, they'll
what
kill
was
me
the
in the
phrase.
comments. Yeah, be like that George Bush quote, "Fool me once." You remember that one where he totally
I
butchered
don't.
it? Oh yeah.
I don't. I didn't watch much of politics. Like I never watched much of politics, especially.
Hmm.
I've never watched much politics. I'll leave it to that. Um, so yeah, I think yeah, I just wanted to see your point of view on this. I think it's a hard decision. I was watching the show and it was like, as a business owner, but even as a salesperson, um, these the profit versus the values and principles is always a hard conversation, because then let's say you take the deal, and this is just going to be the last kind of idea around this. Um, let's say you take the deal, you have all of your employees, right? Like
Hmm.
knowing this, usually it's not going to stay. Imagine it's a big deal, and it's with a company that is very well known, and it's very well known that does unethical stuff that makes a lot of people probably on your team upset.
Hmm.
Then, like the culture, the morale, like everything that comes with that decision, it's just so
Hmm.
intense. A lot of people just think about the profit, right? And
Hmm.
values profit and like just take it. But the ramifications of such
Hmm.
decision is
Hmm.
often not. I don't know that if people take enough time to think about the ramifications and the risks.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of, again, like to my example, like in the beginning, I think it just really depends on your position. Like, so if the company, for example, is just like, I mean, we've been at successful companies, but there's been companies where it's just like maybe you're the third, fourth best product in the market. And so by default, you lose almost all of your, like 80% of your deals to the competition just because you don't have a really good product. And then for whatever reason you find like some, generally speaking, like it might be the ones that like the companies who are really successful who are like, you know what, I can be choosy. Now this one doesn't, like, I don't really vibe with what their the beliefs are. And so it falls down to the now like the third or fourth company, right? And then that salesperson's like, I haven't sold anything, I've lost 80% of my deals, I'm about to get fired anyways, I haven't made my numbers, the board's probably not going to, it's going to be a down round, or like maybe like the board's going to give up hope and they're not going to lead the investment anymore. Or sorry, like the lead investor's not going to, fund another round. And so they're just like, hey, we need to go for broke. Like, yeah, it's not, it's not the ideal, but it's either that or we're all looking for new jobs on LinkedIn tomorrow. So I think, again, the company that is like, maybe has the best in class product and, thousands and thousands of customers, and they can be like, hey, you know what, even on the support side, right? So if a company is like, hey, like this company's, it's a good brand name, but they provide us, it's just too big of a headache, okay, let's tell them like, hey, we're no longer, like, we don't want to have them anymore. Those are decisions that companies who are who can afford to can do it. It's kind of like, just like, a bad employer, right? Like the employee at who maybe needs the money is going to be like, I'm going to stick this out, my boss is horrible, but I don't have any other alternatives, and maybe I have, again, like 50 other responsibilities that this job pays for, so I kind of have to like just take it, versus maybe someone who's like, I was the third employee at Google, and I have stock options, and I work because it stimulates my mind. But if there's anything against any of like these five core tenets that I have in terms of like my beliefs, then I'm gonna like not work, and I don't mind if I don't work for 10 months until I figure out what I'm going to do next that suits me. So I think, yeah, I think it's just, there's different there's different everyone's coming at it from like a different perspective, profits versus, I mean, there's some people who are just straight up greedy, right? They'll be like, I don't need the money, but I want more. That's a whole different kind of like ethical makeup of some people. And then some people are like, I would, but I'm just a tough place in life, and I need this sale, so yeah.
Yeah, I hear that. It's nuanced, basically.
For sure.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I just wanted to explore that, see what your thoughts were on the subject. So thank you for embarking in this flow with me. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I took notes. We have a lot of other episode topics coming up,
Yeah.
so I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love
This
it.
is good.
And of course, we want to hear from all of the viewers. So comments. This is a complicated topic, um,
Hmm.
and I'd love to see what other people think about it. And clearly, there's no right or wrong answer. That's the other thing, right? There is no right or wrong answer. Like what you think, what I think, like we don't care, right? Um,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but thank
Yeah. And
you.
if you guys have any examples that you guys want to put anyone on blast, please, 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 please. We want to know. We want all the tea. So let us know.
Sounds good. On that, I'll see you next time.
All right. Sounds good. See you next time.
No.
Bye.